but they're doing that. Let me finish that part, because the important part is what I was about to say. So every single one of us that's here, our souls knew ahead of time that this was kind of like a big lab. We're like lab rats, all of us to some extent. But what they said was, when you're born, this applies to everybody. They're using technology that automatically reads your energy signature. So a newborn baby can be tagged, and it's through what I think is just AI. And if this newborn baby is born and it has an energy signature that's like a highly sensitive person, or somebody that's going to be psychic, right? All of that. Then they know from when you're a newborn, you're automatically a part of their program. You got tagged from birth. But the thing that they explained was, they're not, just like, for example, when they would do things, because I know they probed my lower back a lot and it hurt. And I asked, why are you hurting me if you're saying you're just wanting to learn? And they don't always know they're hurting. They said it was the equivalent of, like, in Alaska, how they tagged the bears to track them, to learn about their behavior and all. They don't know that they're hurting the bear's ear. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So they're not always doing that with intent to harm. And it doesn't affect everybody the same way either. So it may hurt me, but not somebody else. But everybody that's here knew ahead of time that Earth is all about. It's a study program, basically. Everybody. There's just some that are they target to really learn from, and so the mediumship with me, and I come from a very psychic family. As long as you didn't use the word psychic, because that was bad. But you know what I'm saying, the religion part.
Yeah.
But my mom was very psychic. My grandmother was too. And then here I come along, and I'm psychic and medium, and it hasn't been an easy path. And so everything about me has been different, including I had cancer last year that was the rarest form of cancer there is. They've never even treated it in Louisiana. And greatest gift I ever had there, I can tell you that. I needed that. But they explained the whole program, like how they're studying, how there's like experiments going on. Look, I even remember seeing on one of these craft, in one of these, it looked like a tank. It looked like a monkey being with a different type of body, though, but a monkey head. But when it opened its eyes, they looked like cat eyes. It's not comfortable, because when I do readings for people, I'm connecting to people's deceased loved ones. I can feel their feelings. Personalities don't tend to change when somebody dies. And so if they're really outgoing in life, they're like that in afterlife. And, the human feelings are still there. Well, not these alien beings. They're all different. Some have a level of empathy and concern, like the blue beings. But then you have the others that it almost feels like, even though they're robotic, but it's uncomfortable, because it's like if you're, how do I put that? Like when somebody says somebody's soulless.
Like they're automatons.
Yes, yeah. I was going to say,
like a biological
Yes,
robot.
yeah. I was going to say, I don't even know the right terminology for that, but that's the easiest way to explain that. Another thing that's interesting too, and most people don't know this, angels, and people assume that angels are these loving beings. Well, I have connected to angels. They always come in right behind me. They're about 10 feet tall, and they have no feelings. They're neutral. They're not from Earth. They're actually aliens. They're actually alien beings, and they always come in with an agenda. They're helpful. They volunteered for this. They're helpful. They give good information. If I have an angel come through in a reading, it's usually something very serious, like to the point of saving somebody's life. Or I had it happen 2 days ago, and it was a girl that was being stalked, and she didn't know she was being stalked. And I told her, you're in harm's way. And I don't like giving, fearful messages, but when I walked her out, the guy that's stalking her drove past my house. So,
oh my gosh,
that would be a reason an angel would come through. But my point is, they don't have feelings, but they're not those robotic type. They're neutral. And what I've learned is, you have people say, you need to be in the light. No, you need to be neutral. You don't have to be all up in the dark. You don't have to be all up in the light. You just become an observer of everything, and to the point where you don't have to be reactive. You can observe what's going on in the world without being reactive. And when you reach that point, then that's when you're really coming into alignment. And it just totally resonated, because I'm like, yeah, because when you're all up in the light, you're attracting astral beings to you, But they, so they showed me this thing, and there's this, I don't know if you've heard the term bang chakra. The solar plexus, between the solar plexus and the sacral chakra, it's called the bang chakra. They showed me that a lot of people have a etheric implant right there. And some of these alien beings will, looks like a tube. They'll connect in, and some of them will try and siphon your energy. And some of them, not all, they'll try and siphon your energy. But that's, gosh, I think I felt that in 2006 was the first time I had something weird going on in my back, and it felt like a suction. And finally I got answers of what that was, and it's like a tube. But that's kind of like the implants in my feet. It's for information, right? If you don't have the ones trying to siphon your energy, then it's just how they get information. But there are some that will try and siphon it, and they do it quite frequently, because our energy, they're the parasitic ones. That's what I call them anyway. I don't know what the right term is. The parasitic ones that feed off of energy, that want us in a low frequency. Some people call them demons. I call them parasites. And they want you in a low frequency. They want you mad, and it's nothing personal. It's their food. And so they'll siphon energy from you. And that's why I always tell people, you don't fight fire with fire. You fight fire with love. If you handle everything in a loving way and you keep your frequency up, you're good. You're basically immune from all of that crap happening. And because everything's energy, everything. And they clearly showed me all of that, like why we're here and what it's all about, and how to raise our frequency. They showed me what looked like a simulation, like we're in this, having this collective consciousness. They showed me the collective consciousness was wiped clean April 8th of this year. But I can go into detail. I won't waste all your time doing that. But I got a lot of information. They also showed me that if you have an implant, like I know I have one in my tricep on my right arm, if your implant comes in contact with someone else that has the same type of implant, you'll feel it. You'll start feeling muscle twitching, because there's something about, I didn't even ask all the details of it, but something about the technology or frequency or whatever it's putting out, that it's like, how do I explain that? If you put two magnets up next to each other on the back side, they push it away from each other, it'll repel. Yeah, and it'll cause like muscle twitching. Well, I thought that was fascinating, because one of my best friends, we used to do a book study together, and every time she'd sit next to me, my right bicep would twitch like that, and I'm like, what the heck? And come to find out, that's the one that we were talking about implants. She said, I think I have one in my left, bicep or tricep or whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's why it was doing that. So, but they explained so much, and I feel like, I don't know why, and I'm not exaggerating, I see UFOs almost every day. Like almost every day. I don't have to just take pictures. I walk outside, and if I connect my consciousness to them, it's like they're instantly there. And And it's so weird because even still now, it's weird to me, like, am I calling you to me? What's happening? Because they're there that fast. And I think that's what it is. I don't know. I just need to find out more about that. But I know that I have had...
Sometimes
You could probably help me understand it better.
Yeah, so sometimes, there is a theory that when people see them quite frequently or daily, that just a veil has been lifted and you now have the ability to see them, that they're always there regardless, but you're just able to, like, see them now.
That makes sense. Because one thing... Thank you for saying that, because I got clearly that on April 8th, we made a move. That's what I call it. We made a move. Earth, like we are in a whole different frequency, timeline, everything. And I even got the answer of why was space... Remember when they created Space Force? Did you ever... Do you know why? I mean,
aside from, like, the official...
Well, so I'm asking because I don't know if they ever released that publicly, because I know last week I actually got information about it and I didn't know any of that. Well, I'll tell you what I got was that it's like we've moved locations. There used to be restrictions for, I guess, what do you call it? UFO or what? What's the correct term? Is it?
UFO,
okay, so there used to be... It all pretty much means the same.
Gotcha. The same thing.
So there were restrictions. This is what they told me. There were restrictions on airspace. There have been a lot of the restrictions were removed, and that Space Force was created, and it's sort of like border patrol for space. They also showed me the way you actually get to space is through the oceans. That was weird. I felt like I went through the ocean with them. Space isn't up, it's down. But they, so, but I'm glad you said that about the veil being lifted, because that actually makes sense. Because I have had people with me that I'm standing outside and there's nothing there, and then they walk inside and then I see it. But I've had friends with me that have witnessed things too, but the majority of the time when things are really active is when I'm alone. So that's wild. I saw something in a video.
Real quick, with you asking about, like, the proper thing to call it, you can, UFO, everybody knows what that means, but a more, like, fully all-encompassing, because UFO is unidentified flying aircraft, which wouldn't necessarily apply to UFOs, which are seen under the water or light. And so, a more all-encompassing term is UAP, which originally was unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Gotcha.
But even that has changed. Now it's unidentified anomalous phenomenon.
Okay.
And so, it's really anything that's moving.
Right.
In any sort of type of medium, whether it's water, air, space.
Gotcha.
So unidentified anomalous.
So UAP. Okay. That makes sense. I find it's just more and more every day, and it's I don't question anything. I have a different view on life than most people, and I know everything happens in perfect timing and as it should, and I just it's fascinating. I used to have extreme fear. Somebody sent me a picture that happened to have a picture of an alien in it that was up close. There was like something written, and then there was a picture of an alien in the frame of it. And I had an extreme response to it. This was probably 10 years ago when I saw this alien's eyes, and I couldn't look at it. And that's the turning point where I was like, okay, that's not normal. Like, something's up, And now I can...
Was it like a gray?
Yeah. It was, yeah, and it was the large eyes, the dark eyes. But I remember it was like dropping my phone if somebody sent me a close-up of a roach, you know? And I had an extreme response. And so that's when I really started asking questions, like to my own spirit guides. I love my guides, and I'm like, I want to understand more. And that didn't go away. That I had that for a while. I have weird sleep patterns, but I'm very high maintenance when it comes to sleep, but nothing else. I have to sleep with 2 fans on. I want my head covered. I have to have light in the room. The closet door has to be closed. Like I know there's something to that. So I've felt things pull my covers off my bed. In fact, I don't know if you've ever seen this show, Paranormal 911, but the first episode of the first season that was on the Travel Channel, that's my story. I flew to Canada to film that show, and that tells part of.
Really? What was it?
It's called the first episode of the first season ever. I was the first one they ever interviewed. It's Paranormal 911, and that's when I worked at EMS. Some of the things that happened, and that's what started unfolding my journey. And as terrifying as it was, now I look back on it and I view it totally in a different. My whole perspective has changed. That was my training. That was my way of learning how to discern. I was exposed to everything. I had my comforter pulled off of me while I'm sitting up reading a book, and I had things thrown at me. I was in a dark place. I was suicidal, and slowly, one night I was working nights at EMS, but it was one morning. I got home and I took a bath, and when I got out, the lamps from my nightstand were in the middle of my bed. And then I'm about to lose it, right? And then I'm sitting up in the bed reading, and then my comforter is slowly being pulled off of me, but fast enough where you could see it. And I just lost it. I just cried, and I prayed, and I said, I am willing to be of service to humanity, only for the good. And because the medium stuff was really getting strong, and I said, but I need peace, I need help. And I tell you, this peace came over me. It's like it came in the room and enveloped me, and we'll never forget it. I was crying like on my knees, and I fell asleep on the floor, which was weird because I always sleep with my head covered because I always hear my name being called, And I woke up the next day, and I just knew everything was going to be okay. And things are okay, and they started unfolding, and I realized then, I realize now that I really did have to go through all of that. So I understood energy, I understood these entities and how to discern and not just trust everything. And also how to be able to help other people. Because if somebody came in my office today and told me they were going through what I went through, I'd be like, But I've been through it, so I have the knowledge at least to help. And and I still feel like I feel like a toddler in so many things because of how I'm still every day learning so much. And but I feel protected. But my point in saying all this, I don't have the fear that I used to, and I can actually look at that picture of that being and not have fear. What I feel now is a fearlessness, and not in an arrogant way, in a balanced way. And I realized that my soul, I signed up for this. I came here. I know I've helped thousands of people. I know I have, and I am super proud of that. I finally, through cancer, have learned self-love, which is the hardest thing to learn, And I just trust every day. I get up and I'm in a place of peace that I've never felt in my life. And so I think that's why so many things have been happening lately, so many more encounters, because of how I'm showing up, But I don't know, the fear's gone. And so what I have learned is that anything that people consider evil or dark, well, everything comes from the light. And if it's dark, it's just because it's moved further away from the light. And that those are people that need love. They don't need hate. In fact, that's why I don't even agree with an exorcism. You don't go screaming at some entity to get out, because if you're screaming at them, get out, and you have a low frequency, then they're just going to feed off your energy. How about go in and say, you know what, I respect what your role is on this Earth, because without, the dark, you can't see the stars, right? And we learned through that. And so that's how I've gotten, what I think I'm trying to say? I've gotten more to where I'm in a neutral place now. And it feels really good.
Wonderful.
So
that's wonderful.
But all of this stuff with these beings and all, I feel like a toddler with all of that, because I don't know. Never been exposed to anything other. I mean, I've been exposed to things all my life, but I've never had anybody I could talk to about that. Clients are coming to me for help. I don't have anybody, that understands that, or I don't even know the right terminology with the half of it. And so I thank you for listening.
Yeah, no problem at all. I appreciate you sharing all of that with me. It's very interesting, and a lot of those things, I've heard many times before.
Thank you.
I'll definitely give you some. I can email if you're interested in, any experiencer groups.
Yeah.
They have different schedules of when they'll meet. Sometimes they're monthly. But yeah, I can email you some of those.